You think your choices are conscious. You believe that you are steering your life by will, by logic, by daily decision. But science tells us something different. Bruce Lipton, in his work on the biology of belief, revealed a paradox that most people spend their lives ignoring. 95% of our behavior is not driven by conscious choice, but by unconscious program. This means that while you may feel like you're deciding, choosing, and creating, in reality, much of your life is being run by patterns you did not choose, patterns written long ago. It is as if there is a hidden script inside you, whispering lines you didn't even know you had memorized. Think about this for a moment. Every repeated thought, every repeated emotion becomes a thread in a web that slowly forms a baseline frequency. This frequency is not visible, yet it shapes everything you see, everything you attract, everything you allow. It is not the bright, inspiring vision of your future that speaks most loudly to the universe. It is the echo of your past, repeated so often that it has become your familiar song. That song, that invisible vibration, becomes a cave, and many people are trapped inside it without even realizing that the bars are made not of iron, but of memory. Neuroscience has shown us why. Joe Dispenza speaks of how emotions condition neural pathways, how the body itself learns to expect and crave familiar feelings, no matter how painful they are. If you have lived in fear long enough, your body expects fear. If you have lived in disappointment, your cells anticipate disappointment. It becomes an addiction, hidden contract between mind and body that says, let us keep feeling what we know, even if it hurts. And so, the past is not something behind you. It is something your body recreates again and again until it becomes your present. Imagine a radio that is stuck at one frequency. No matter how many inspiring songs you want to hear, no matter how many times you say, I choose a different station, all that comes through is static and the same old tune. That is what it feels like to live trapped in the subconscious broadcast. You long for a future filled with joy, love, and abundance. Yet the only signal being sent out is one of lack, fear, and repetition. And the universe responds not to your surface words, but to the vibration you continually transmit. Perhaps you know this feeling. You try affirmation, repeating them every morning. You create vision boards, pinning the images of a brighter future. You meditate, you pray, you do everything you've been told to do. Yet something inside you whispers, why is nothing changing? And the truth is not that you are broken or that the universe is silent. The truth is that your broadcast is still the same. You are speaking in the language of the future, but transmitting in the frequency of the past. This is the unseen frequency that locks you in place. It is the hidden pattern that explains why, despite all your efforts, life sometimes feels like a circle rather than a path. And yet, within this truth lies a hidden gift. Because if the subconscious frequency has been strong enough to hold you captive, then the conscious awakening of a new frequency is powerful enough to set you free. What your heart longs for is not simply the next affirmation or the next meditation. It is the release from the cave, the moment when you step into coherence with the future that has been calling you all along. So if you feel trapped, if you feel as though you've been trying and trying without moving forward, I want you to know something. You are not alone in this. Many people are carrying the same invisible weight, wondering if change is really possible. But this moment is not meant to shame you. It is meant to awaken, because the very awareness that you are caught in a frequency is the first vibration of freedom, and freedom is closer than you think. Would you like me to now continue with chapter 1? The silent frequency of the subconscious, keeping exactly the same depth and tone. The silent frequency of the subconscious. There is a subtle mistake many people make without realizing. They confuse what they want with what they are actually broadcasting. You may think you are vibrating abundance, love, or peace because you consciously wish for it, but the subconscious speaks with a stronger voice. It carries the echoes of every experience you have lived, every belief planted in you before you even had the ability to question. And that voice, soft and invisible, often drowns out the words of intention spoken by your conscious mind. Bruce Lipton's research shows us that childhood is where much of this hidden programming is written. As children, we absorb beliefs like sponges. We do not filter. We do not challenge, we simply take them in. If you are taught that money is scarce, that love is conditional, that safety is uncertain, these beliefs settle deep into the subconscious like seeds pressed into soil. They grew roots. And even if, as an adult, you speak of abundance, love, or safety, those roots continue to broadcast a very different vibration. They become what Lipton called frequency imprints. powerful enough to override even your strongest adult intentions. It is like trying to plant a new seed in cement. You can water it, you can speak to it, you can wait in hope, but the soil will not let it grow. Intention alone cannot sprout where the ground is unyielding. The soil must be soft, broken open, made fertile again. And this is the quiet work of becoming aware of the subconscious frequency, not forcing change from the outside, but loosening the ground within. You may notice how the same emotions return to you, like shadow. Perhaps fear greets you each morning before the day even begins. Perhaps worry lingers at night, when silence makes it harder to escape your thoughts. Perhaps resentment visits in small doses, uninvited but familiar. These emotions are not random. They are loops. They are the subconscious reminding the body of what it has always known, asking it to keep repeating. And so the cycle continues. There is a simple, tender way to begin shifting this. When you notice one of these loops repeating, fear, worry, resentment, pause for a moment. Feel it without rush. Name it soft, as if speaking to an old friend. Then ask yourself, what is the opposite experience my heart longs for in this moment? If fear is present, perhaps the opposite is safe. If worry is present, perhaps the opposite is trust. Write that word down. Hold it close. It may feel small, but in truth, it is not. This is the beginning of exposing the hidden broad. Think of it as background music in a film. You may not notice the soundtrack at first, but it shapes the entire mood of the scene. A horror scene without its haunting melody would lose its tension. A love scene without music would lose its tenderness. The subconscious is that soundtrack. Quiet, subtle, unnoticed, but it determines the emotional tone of your life. And until you become aware of it, you will continue to move through scenes written long ago, wondering why the story has not changed. Perhaps you feel this now. Perhaps you feel that your efforts to create change are like swimming upstream, exhausting and endless. If so, let yourself take a breath. There is nothing wrong with you. The truth is simply that your subconscious has been playing its old song, and you have been trying to dance to a new rhythm at the same time. And yet, awareness of the song is already first note of freedom, because once you notice the music, you can begin to choose different. The addiction to emotional path. There is a peculiar suffering that many people carry. They change jobs, they change partners, they set new goals, they move to new places, and yet the same feelings seem to follow. It is as if, no matter how different the external world becomes, the inner world continues to sing the same old song. You might recognize this sensation, that despite all your efforts, you find yourself once again in the same emotional landscape, facing the same disappointments, repeating the same stories. This is not coincidence. This is the body's addiction to the past. Joe Dispenza explains that the body does not merely remember emotions, it becomes them. The chemicals of stress, guilt, or anger are released so often that the body grows accustomed to. Over time, the body begins to crave them the way a smoker craves nicotine. And so, when life becomes calm, when a new possibility begins to open, the body quietly whispers, "Where is the anger? Where is the fear? Where is the grief?" Without realizing, you are pulled back, not by fate, but by chemistry. This is why change so often feels painful. Many believe they are afraid of the unknown. In truth, they are withdrawing from the familiar. The body resists, not because the future is frightening, but because the past has become an addiction. Stress feels like home. Anxiety feels like safe. Even sadness feels like a strange kind of comfort, because the body knows it so well. And so, just as a smoker's hands reach for a cigarette without thought, your emotions reach for the past, even as your mind longs for a new future. There is a way to soften this grip. The moment an old emotion rises, name it gently. Without judgment, breathe slowly, deep for 90 seconds, as though each breath were teaching your body that it is safe in this moment. 90 seconds is long enough for the chemical surge to pass, long enough to remind the body that a different choice is possible. This is not about denying the emotion. It is about letting it move through without becoming your identity again. Think of the person trying to quit smoke. They will feel the pull of nicotine, the ache in their body, the restlessness in their hand. But if they hold through that moment without lighting the cigarette, the craving weakens. The same is true with emotion. When you feel the pull of anger, of fear, of guilt, and you breathe through it without letting it take over, you are breaking the contract with the past. You are teaching your body a new song. This is not easy, and it is not instant. Many who are listening right now know the exhaustion of trying to change while life seems to remain the same. It can feel like being trapped in a cycle you cannot escape. But hear this. The cycle is not eternal. The past is not a prison with no door. It is an addiction, and like all addictions, it weakens when awareness and compassion are brought to it. So when you find yourself in the grip of familiar emotions, remember that what feels like destiny is often nothing more than chemistry. What feels like fate is often the body asking for its usual dose. And just as the body once learned to expect those emotions, it can learn to expect something else. You are not bound to repeat the past forever. You are capable of teaching your body a new frequency, one breath, one moment at a time. The illusion of effortful manifestation. So many seekers walk a long and weary road, believing that the more they do, the faster they will arrive. They recite affirmations 100 times a day. They create vision boards filled with images of a better life. They perform rituals with discipline and precision. And still, the silence remains. Still, the dream feels distant. This is not because the universe is ignoring, but because they are caught in the illusion that effort alone brings creation. Bruce Lipton's work reminds us that biology does not respond to words spoken without coherence. It does not yield to endless repetition, but to the harmony between thought and feeling. When the mind says, "I am abundant," but the body is still humming with the vibration of lack, the stronger signal wins. The subconscious frequency carries more weight than the surface declaration. The seed of a new reality cannot sprout when the soil of feeling has not been changed. Neville Goddard spoke of this with clarity. He taught that imagination, when felt as real, holds greater power than 1,000 empty repetitions. One moment of true alignment, where thought and feeling merge, where the body begins to believe the vision is already alive, can open doors that endless effort could never unlock. It is not the quantity of practice that matters, but the quality of state. Close your eyes and think of a moment when you felt joy so deeply that your body vibrated. Notice how every cell seemed alive, how your breathing was different, how even the air around you felt lighter. That is coherence. Now imagine bringing that same fullness into the vision of not just seeing it, but stepping into it. What does the air smell like in that future? What sound surrounds you? How does your body breathe in that light? When your senses participate, the body begins to believe. And when the body believes, the subconscious frequency shifts. Think of a dark room with 1,000 light switches on the wall. You could flip the wrong switch again and again, working harder each time, becoming exhausted, even discouraged. But the light will not come on until you find the right switch. And yet, the moment you do, with the smallest touch, the room is illuminated. This is the difference between effort without alignment and alignment without struggle. Perhaps you have felt the weight of trying everything and still feeling stuck. Perhaps you have whispered to yourself, "What more must I do?" The answer is not more. The answer is different. The answer is coherence. When your thoughts and feelings sing the same song, even soft, the universe hears it clearly. Manifestation is not a matter of volume or repetition. It is a matter of frequency. And so the path is not about exhausting yourself with effort, but about allowing yourself to enter a state where the future feels as real as the past once did. That is where the shift begins. That is where the invisible becomes visible. The frequency saboteurs you don't notice. There are influences around you so subtle that you rarely stop to see them. And yet, they are constantly shaping the frequency you brought. You may think of sabotage as something dramatic or destructive, but more often, it is woven quietly into the background of your day. It is the endless scrolling through news that stirs anxiety. It is the conversations that leave you heavy with resentment or doubt. It is the overstimulation that fills your mind until silence becomes a stranger. These influences are not loud, but they are persistent, and slowly they lower your vibration without asking your permission. Bruce Lipton has shown us that our environment communicates with our biology. The signals that surround us, whether they are uplifting or toxic, activate or silence the very genes that shape our lives. This means that what you allow into your field is not harmless. Every word you hear, every image you consume, every environment you step into is a message to your body and mind, and those messages accumulate. They become part of your frequency, whether or not you notice them. What surprises many is that it is not always the great traumas of life that keep them bound. More often, it is the small, unnoticed doses of negativity that collect like dust on the soul. A passing remark that undermines your confidence. An hour of scrolling that leaves you comparing your life to others. A habit of entering spaces that feel heavy, though you tell yourself it does not matter. These small drops of shadow gather in the water of your being until the whole field feels cloudy. Imagine a clear glass of water, pure, transparent, reflecting the light. Now imagine adding a single drop of dark dye. The water is no longer the same. Add another drop, and then another, and soon the clarity is lost. It is not a flood that has changed it, but tiny drops repeated again and again. So it is with your frequency. What you allow in small measures each day becomes the climate of your inner world. Perhaps you know this sensation, the feeling that your energy is blocked, that no matter what you try, something unseen keeps holding you back. Perhaps you have even whispered to yourself, why does nothing flow? Often the answer lies not in great mistakes, but in these small saboteurs that go unrecognized. And yet, when they are seen, when they are brought into the light, their power diminishes. To notice them is already to begin shift. To notice the moment a conversation drains. To notice the heaviness that follows certain habits. To notice how your energy rises or falls depending on what surrounds you. This awareness is not small, it is the turning of the tide. Because when you see the invisible drops, you can choose which ones remain, and each choice clears the water, allowing your frequency to shine again. The work of frequency is not only in the great spiritual practices, but in the quiet decisions of daily life. What you allow into your space becomes part of it. And when you begin to guard that space with tenderness, the field within and around you becomes clearer, lighter, more open to possibility, tuning into the frequency of possibility. There is a waiting that consumes so many souls, a waiting for life to give proof before allowing belief, a waiting for evidence, for sign, for something tangible to appear before opening the heart. And yet, this waiting is itself a prison, because the field does not respond to what is already visible. It responds to what is consistently broadcast, even when no evidence can yet be seen. Bruce Lipton reminds us that our biology and our reality are shaped not by what has already happened, but by the vibrations we continually send out. This is why so many feel as though they are trapped in circles. They say, when my circumstances change, I will feel great. They whisper, when love arrives, I will feel whole. They believe, when I am healed, I will feel peace. But life is not designed this way. The outer world does not deliver wholeness before the inner world begins to vibrate with it. It is the vibration itself that calls the future into being. And so, to wait is to delay. Belief, then, is not blind faith. It is rehearsal. It is embodying the future so deeply that it begins to feel as familiar as the past once did. It is teaching the body and mind to step into the frequency of what is not yet visible until it becomes the most natural state of all. This is not pretend. This is not escaping reality. It is aligning with a deeper truth that the field responds to coherence, not to circumstance. Consider the farmer who plants his seeds. He does not wait to see green shoots before giving water. He waters because he knows. He trusts the soil, the season, the invisible work happening beneath the surface. Day after day, he gives without seeing because faith is already alive within. And in time, the soil responds. In time, the unseen becomes visible. You too are like that farmer. Your thoughts and emotions are seeds. Your attention, your daily state of being is the water. What you nourish consistently becomes what grows. There is a practice, tender and simple, that aligns with this truth. Before the world rushes in, before screens demand your attention, before the mind fills with noise, pause in the stillness of morning. Let yourself awaken one elevated emotion: gratitude, joy, wonder, love. Not in thought alone, but in feeling. Let your breath change. Let your chest soften. Let your body taste the vibration of that future you are calling for. Even a few minutes in this state sets a tone for the day, a broadcast that speaks more clearly than any words. Perhaps you have felt the heaviness of thinking it is too late, that time is running out, that the chance for transformation has already passed you by. But the frequency of possibility is timeless. It does not ask your age. It does not count your years. It does not measure your history. It responds to vibration now. And the moment you embody a new state, even for a breath, the field begins to shift. The possibility begins to open. So let your mornings become sacred soil. Let your heart rehearse the future until it feels as real as yesterday's memory. Let your frequency become the water that nourishes the invisible, because possibility is not waiting for tomorrow. It is already alive in the vibration you choose to carry today. You have walked with me through the unseen territory of frequency, where science and spirit meet in quiet truth. You have seen how the subconscious can hold you in its silent grip, how the body can become addicted to emotions of the past, effortless, how effort without coherence can exhaust rather than create, how small daily influences can sabotage the soul, and how the vibration of possibility opens when belief is lived before evidence arrives. These are not abstract teachings. They are living truths, threads woven into the fabric of your everyday experience. The unseen frequency that locks you in place is not a punishment. It is not a sign that you are unworthy or broke. It is simply the echo of what has been repeated, a song the body and mind have learned to play by memory. And just as it was learned, it can be unlearned. Just as it was rehearsed, it can be rewritten. This is the hope that rests quietly beneath every moment of awareness. Bruce Lipton and Joe Dispenza have shown us that the old boundaries between biology, belief, and spirit are dissolved. What ancient mystics intuit, science now confirms that your frequency shapes your life more than circumstance, more than history, more than effort alone. You are not at the mercy of what has been. You are in dialogue with what is possible, and possibility is always listen. Take this truth with tenderness. Your past does not define you. Your age does not confine you. Your pain does not cancel your future. In this very moment, the frequency you carry is your greatest act of creation, and you are free to choose again and again and again. Let us close together with words that remind the body, the mind, and the soul of this freedom. Repeat soft, if only within. I release the past. I tune into the frequency of possibility. I am aligned. I am free. I am exactly where I am meant to be. Let these words settle like seeds into the soil of your being. Return to them when the old song rises, when the static of the past tries to play again. Each time you affirm them with feeling, you water the future that longs to bloom. Thank you for sharing this space of silence and awake. May the path ahead feel lighter. May your mornings open with clarity. And may your heart continue to remember that possibility is not somewhere far away. It is already here, waiting within your vibration.